Hello, Rudy. You know, friends come and go like oceans and waves, but good friends stick to you like an octopus on the face. G'day everyone, how you all going? Today is a very exciting day for me. Before we get going into everything else, we need to do all the obligatory things that we do. So let's have a look at the weather for the day. Firstly, it's July. It is Wednesday. It is Tuesday. I have no idea. It is Tuesday. David, what is it? Is it Tuesday? Tuesday, the 5th of July, 2022. The weather at the moment is 11 degrees. It's raining, and we're going to hit a top of 13. Double it and add 30 if you want in Celsius. And fuel, $1.97.4. Now, don't forget, if this is your first time here, your second time here, you need to hit this little button down here. It's coming up in a second. Now, thank you. Thank you, producer David. Like and share this. Share it and smash that like button. No, like that smash button. And if you are not here every day, or if I'm not here every day at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, if I'm not on, I am not on. Before we go, David, welcome, and I need to make sure that we're all here. How are you, mate?
G'day, Gerald. What a pleasure to be in your living room.
It's the box, isn't it?
It is the box.
All right. I need to just bring us back for a second over here because I forgot to do this. It's cheers, Rudy. So, cheers, Rudy. Don't ask that question again. Cheers, Rudy. And for all those people who are here, and of course, you know, from one Gerald to another Gerald.
All hail Rudy.
All hail Rudy. David's sitting here and he's going, what was the question?
Oh, where am I in the Twilight Zone?
You must be. You even said, who is Rudy?
Now I know.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Don't ever ask that again. Why is it that I get all these guests on here? Like I had Dan on here a few days ago. I had Di, who was here. I had Kate. And you all look slim and fit next to this beached whale.
Well, here. You know, you are the before shot.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So who is David Contarini?
David Contarini. Well, I'm 57 years of age. I have a family.
That wasn't necessary.
I live in Vegas.
Yeah.
We've known each other for so long. We'll get into that. We'll get into that later. I guess I'm here because I'm going to add some type of value as a men's counsellor.
That's good.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all things thoughts and feelings today, perhaps, and we can delve into a few, maybe some...
Thoughts don't care about your feelings.
Oh, there's a thought.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll
yeah.
get into that.
All right, we might do that. There's only one reason that people are here. And I don't know if you know this, but there's only one reason. And the only reason that these people are here is because they want to know who is first. All right, so... Oh, Thrashy, that's unusual. You're first. Every when... Flibber... Tibbet... I'm going to have to put that over to you.
Flibbity gibbet. Every when flibbity gibbet... Age last.
So that is the... I'm going to leave it to you. That is the phrase that you have to come... That's the phrase that you're going to have to use somewhere in amongst the conversation that we have here today.
That's the challenge.
That's the challenge. Is every when flibbity gibbet, age last.
What is the word? What is age? It's
Doesn't
not
matter.
ageless. It's just age last.
Oh, they don't know how to spell these.
I think that's a made up word.
I think it is too.
Anyway,
but they don't know. They don't know anything. These people here, they're degenerates and deplorables.
Oh, so you get along.
Yes, we do. Before we get into everything that we need to get into, because I just want to sit back and have a relax and maybe chat with you, rather than have to push buttons and do everything that I normally do here. But I think it's important that we go through motivations of the day because our motivations are important to us. We'll have a look at a couple of news items and then, of course, we'll move into just the David and Gerald show if it works. So let's have a look at these. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal.
Winston, yeah.
It is the courage to continue that counts.
Love that.
You like that?
I've heard that one before. It's a cracker.
It is a cracker.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. If I tell you about my past, it's never because I want you to feel sorry for me, but so you can understand why I am who I am.
That's deep. It's beautiful, though.
Have you learned how to read? I would like you to read this one for me.
When I die, I want to die like my grandfather, who died peacefully in his sleep, not screaming like all the passengers in his car. Good on you, Will. Will Rogers. What a man for the ages.
It's a man for the ages. All
That's
right.
great.
We might read those later. There's a lot there. The secret of freedom lies in educating people, whereas the secret of tyranny is in keeping them ignorant.
Yeah.
Maximilian.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr.
You can
Putin.
do the next
Thank
one.
you, Mr.
Oh,
Putin.
that's it.
Well,
That's
all.
the motivations
That was
of the
good.
day.
I
It's
love
all
that.
been done.
It's very positive to start the show positive. I love it.
Yeah, because the rest of the show goes
Downhill
from
quickly.
Here.
Fair enough.
It goes very much downhill.
Fair enough.
So I want to know, how did we meet?
Oh, Gerald, how did we meet?
Did you just call me Gerald?
I think I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I'm good with
Did
that.
I just sound like your mum?
Yeah.
Father.
How did we meet?
How do we meet? I think I was about mid-20s and I'd just come back from overseas. We were in North Queensland and I took a break from teaching. I used to be a physical education teacher in North Queensland. I took a break, went overseas, came back into the Whitsundays where I was living and had to get a job. So I started, trying to get a job. And there was a job on Daydream Island for an activities officer. I didn't even know what that was, but it sounded pretty fun. On an island, teaching people how to, play volleyball, windsurf.
Yeah.
That can't be hard. So I applied and I got it shortlisted.
You did.
And then I found myself in a room with you. My God, I think if I can get through this, I've got a job. You asked me a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah, that
But
weren't relevant.
Completely irrelevant. I think you were making it up as well.
I was.
And I remember once I got the job, you said to me, David, there's only one reason why I gave you that job. And I said, what was that? He said, you used my name. Very important in hospitality. Yes, sir. No, sir. Whatevs.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that's that. You were very gracious to give me that job. Great job.
Yeah.
It was exactly what I thought it was. You put me down on water sports. I'm teaching sailing, windsurfing, to all these people stuck on an island.
It's incredible because you go from Daydream Island and then you end up, I think you started to work for South Bank Corporation. Did you leave that? No, you went to Laguna Keys.
Yeah, kind of went into the events industry after that.
Yeah.
So there was another resort that was opening up in North Queensland, Laguna Keys. I was there for 2 years in the same sort of thing, teaching people how to, enjoy themselves, water sports, playing tennis, all that kind of stuff.
Were they self-partnering?
Yes, yes, indeed. And then found myself going to Sydney and then got a job in major events in the lead up to the Sydney Olympic Games. Amazing time. It was wonderful. Yeah, it was just an incredible time. And Sydney being the place it is, it's a big place and, it was just such an exciting place to be. And then came back to Brisbane. I worked in professional sport for a little while. We have a professional team here called the Broncos, Brisbane Broncos, playing rugby league. And did that for 2 years, which was a lot of fun.
Stop right there.
Yes.
Because we need to maybe just pull back a little bit on the Broncos thing. For those people who don't know, our National Rugby League team, Queensland, before we had, I think the Cowboys, wasn't it? Before we had the Cowboys, we really had the Broncos was the only Queensland team, wasn't it?
Yeah, one team, one state, one team.
That's it, one state. Wally Lewis was the
captain.
He was the captain of the Broncos way back then. And I hadn't seen David for maybe 5 years, 10 years, something like that. And then I get this call out of the blue, Gerald. I went, oh, this sounds serious. Mate, what are you doing? And I said, I'm not too sure. Finish the story. We were at the Broncos. What happened?
I had this job. I had the job. The first job I found myself in at the Broncos was, David, we need a new cheerleading squad. And I'm like, what? We need you to get the cheerleaders sorted. You want me to pick cheerleaders? Am I hearing that right? Yes, that's your first job here as operations manager. You need to get cheerleaders.
Excellent.
Oh my God. So over the course of a couple of weeks, months, whatever, we were putting these, and I'd always get called, like the girl on reception would call me in my office, say, David, there's a rather attractive lady waiting for you in the foyer. I'm like, oh, today's going to be a wonderful day.
It's going to be a great day.
So we put together the cheerleaders, about 15 of them, and I thought we've got to train them up. We've got to train them in customer service. We've got to train them in being hospitable. I mean, at the end of the day, they are ambassadors for the team. So I thought, I know the person who can do this. Hence the phone call. Oh, what a day that was.
What a day that was. It was like, Gerald, we need to, because the brief that I got was communication skills.
That's it.
And I said, don't they know how to communicate? And it was like, that was a full day. It was a full 7 hours or 8 hours of me. You're sitting up the back there, kind of like with your...
Taking notes.
David had his little clipboard out and go, tick.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's good. That's interesting. That's a good way to do it. Oh, that's good. I like that one. Rah, rah, Ingo, Poppy go. Rah, rah, Poppy go. Yeah, boss go. Doing all that. Tick, tick, tick. And I'm at the front there looking at you going, how could you get me this job?
It was a gift. I
was the gift.
No. It was a gift for you, for our friendship. To put our friendship together, Gerald. Here is the gig of the century. Please come. It was a lovely. They were lovely girls.
After that, I didn't see you for hell.
No,
like you just went. It was like, oh great, I've got this gig with the Broncos. How good is this? I'll be having this every week, teaching them how to communicate. Got nothing from you. You taught me nothing. And then you left the Broncos. Okay, you left the Broncos, so that was a bit of fun. And then you moved to where?
Yeah, South Banks in Brisbane. So we have a large open space in Brisbane, big public open space, beautiful spot. It's sort of left over from the, what was it? The Expo, wasn't it? Back in '88, the Expo in Brisbane. So viewers can Google that to see how huge that was. So that was a big open public space in Brisbane. So I was the events manager, put on wonderful events for the City of Brisbane, New Year's Eve, Australia Day, all that stuff, and did that for about 5 years. Yeah, and
then you went to I think RACQ.
Yeah, so RACQ is a big motoring organisation. What's the equivalent in America? I think it's the AAA, or might just be the AA. Yeah, so
no, that's Alcoholics Anonymous. That's the
place
other club
you go. Yeah,
that you belong to.
Please don't ever drink and drive. And that's where I was, and I was in charge of rolling out road safety education programs in schools. We had about 12 teachers that worked under me, and we went all throughout Queensland teaching road safety. An amazing job. You know, we're teaching little kids how to cross the road safely, right up to year 12 students, you know, and to get them driving responsibly. Because, you know, we lose... I don't know what it's like. I mean, they are similar statistics around the world. You know, that age bracket between 18 and 24 just overrepresented in crash statistics, and it's horrifying. You know, people are dying in that age bracket more than ever on our roads, and to give them some education about how to prevent that was a really good thing.
Because I've been following you a lot on LinkedIn and just looking at all the stuff that you're doing. And you flew a lot in the RACQ helicopters, and you went out to, you know, some regional towns, and mainly it was education for the young kids,
correct,
or school kids. There was one thing that you used to say about if you're driving tired. I love that. If you're feeling like you're driving a bit tired, say a female, for example, and they have long hair, what's the one thing that you said they should do? You got slammed for that.
Look, you know, we go to all these regional areas, and we obviously teach road safety. The thing about regional areas is the speed limits are always higher. Yeah, so they're driving on roads already that are 80 kilometres an hour, 100 kilometres an hour, even to go from their house to maybe their place of work, because they're major highways. They're highways running through their town. So when you get higher speed limits, you know, that just by physics alone, it means if you hit something at 100 k's an hour, you're not living, you know. Or if you leave the road, you're going to hit a tree. You've got wildlife, all those sorts of things. And we were talking about, in this one school, you know, fatigue driving, and this young girl put her hand up and said, "Oh yeah, I've got a great strategy when I'm driving back from McDonald's from my weekly gig. It's probably about around midnight, and sometimes I see myself sort of nodding off. And what I do is I just get my long hair and I put it out the window, and then I wind the window up, and it traps my head. So every time I fall asleep, it sort of pulls me back awake, and I just we couldn't believe what some of these young people are doing.
I know. It's
crazy, to stay awake. It was just...
And she obviously had a car that was like in the 1970s, because she was winding the window
completely, up. Yeah. I can imagine, you know, 5 airbags protecting her not.
Yeah.
So it was quite scary to think what some of the strategies were. You know, and the thing about tired driving, fatigue driving, you can't beat it. And you really just have to stop.
I know, you force yourself. I know there'll be a lot of people say, I know how to do it. I'll take a break, or I'll throw water in my eyes, or I might just get out of the car and do a lap and then get back in. It doesn't.
All short term.
Yeah, all short term.
You can't beat sleep. Can't beat sleep.
That's the best thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But I wonder why we fight it.
Well, it's an inconvenience. You know, if you're on the highway and you're falling asleep, you've got another 100 k's to go, what are you going to do? You know, pull off and go to sleep, and just think, well, maybe that's risky as well. Who knows what's out there on the side of the road? So we just push through.
We do.
You know, we just put. It's the same with if it's flooded, forget it. A very successful campaign. When it rains a lot in southeast Queensland here, we have this. You know, it's a very simple message: don't go through flooded waters. And you know, the last flood that we had, we still had 5, 6, 7 deaths where people are driving through flooded waterways. It's hard to imagine.
I think there's that need that I have to get home.
I have to get home.
I need to sit in front of the fire.
Yeah.
I need to cook dinner. I need to do that.
I've got responsibilities.
There's a great quote by Stephen Covey. He says something like, "Are you too busy driving to stop to get petrol?"
Yeah.
And I think that's a great, that's what we're like, is that I'm just too busy. I'm too busy thinking about having to take a break or have a sleep. I've got to do other things. But we'll get more into that because I think you've now left RACQ. And then what happened after that?
Yeah, so what I did, Gerald, is I had a bit of a middle-aged crisis. Don't we all?
Yeah.
Don't we all? And I sort of fell into this, oh my God, what am I doing? Where am I going? Do I really want to do this forever? How does, the rest of my life, what does that look like? We're in the back nine of the golfing world, aren't we? We're on a one-way street. There's no turning back now.
No.
And as we reach that sort of 60s and late 50s, we're kind of asking deeper questions. And I really wanted to ask myself, what does the rest of my life look like? And I couldn't see that in a corporate job, doing the same old, working for the boss. And yeah, I had a real coming to Jesus moment, and I thought, what does this look like? So I really looked at my values and my work values and think, what is it that I'm really attracted to? And at the end of the day, I've got that real deep value about education, about helping people, about imparting a knowledge from me to you, and a sort of a care gene as well. And I decided to study counselling. So I did a diploma of counselling with the view of opening up my own practice. And only a couple of months ago, I did exactly that. And it's called Better Man Counselling. And I want to talk to middle-aged men. I want to talk to younger men about what their troubles are, and about this pervasiveness of mental health that's just sweeping through our society as a result of so many things of our lives becoming complex. And that's where I sit today. And I just can't wait for this career to open up in front of me and to do the thing that I truly believe that I'm put on the earth to do.
I find it quite amazing because one of the things that I just love is that I saw that you had said, I'm leaving after 12 years at RACQ. I'm leaving. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I reached out to you. I just put out a little message. Do you remember what the message was?
Come and work for me.
Come and work
full
with
circle.
me. Let's do full circle. Let's go back 33 years, I think it was, and come and work. And you would have gone, that's a joke.
That's just Gerald being Gerald.
That's just Gerald being Gerald. And I want to thank you because for the people who don't know, it's been like 272 days since I've been on the floor. And I did a couple of days last week. And David's been the one that's been helping me out. And I've just gone, David, you're jibbity-jabbed. You're going out to all the regional towns. And that's where you've been. You've been doing some of the stuff out there. You've been enjoying it?
It's been fantastic, mate. Yeah. Again, just coming back to those roots of education and imparting knowledge and trying to help people at the end of your training, whether it be in de-escalation or assertive skills or how to be a better manager, how to be a better supervisor, just to give them some things that they can walk away with so that their next day is better, more effective, more efficient. It's just, it's a wonderful gift. It really is.
It's kind of, you think of it, it's kind of basic stuff, but people do hear some of the things that we talk about and they go, wow, there are some great strategies that we can to help de-escalate certain situations, or even just the art of communication. Because I always see communication is an art, it's not a science, it's not a specific strategy that you're given and go, if you nail this, you're great at communicating. It's more of an art. It's got to be able to
a learned skill.
Converse.
A learned skill.
Yeah, it is a learned skill to be able to listen, to understand.
Absolutely.
And what I want to do is that on your website, or not so much on your website, but on LinkedIn, you had a couple of quotes up there, and I want this just to come up, and people might be able to see this also. You've obviously got the thing on the top. It says, worrying, catastrophizing, and anticipating failure, rejection, or loss can rob us of the present moment. Why did you put that up? What was so important about that?
So I think it's important to go right back to the start of, where are these unpleasant thoughts and feelings coming from, and what are the ways that they manifest? So that one there is really about how our thoughts and feelings can take us in the past. How do they How do they rob us of the present moment? Because the present moment really is all we have, right?
Yeah.
And we can spend time and effort thinking about the past, worrying about the past, or even, you know, catastrophizing about the future. When we're either back or forward, we are not in the present, and that is basically all we have. And that notion of being in the present, we can talk further about how valuable that is,
Yeah.
and how that can stop this short circuiting of our thoughts running away from us.
Yeah.
And it's so important that we do that. And there's a number of ways that we can really be present. I often say to people, you know, if you go for a walk or go for a run, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? Are you listening to music? Or are you just taking in the sights and the smells and the sounds of that very activity? Are you in the moment of that very activity? And what's the gift that gives you? And so often we're either living in the past, living in the future, but we're not living now. And it's so valuable to live in now because...
I guess it's really, and I want to talk maybe about some personal experiences, maybe of myself, of what's happened in the last 272 days. But I brought up a quote or a motivational quote yesterday. It's something like, anxiety is like carrying an umbrella every day, waiting for it to rain.
Yeah.
So you're presuming that it is going to rain, and eventually it will rain. So does that mean, in that quote there, that catastrophe is going to happen? But what you're saying here is that worrying about all these things here, anticipating failure or rejection, I think the thing that I went through over the last year is that I felt that there was this immense rejection of, because I didn't comply with what the government wanted me to do. It's like, well, now I'm a failure.
Yep.
I didn't step up to the plate. And so I went through this whole period of not catastrophizing, but I'm just thinking, there's no purpose. And so you and I have chatted about this, because I love it the way that, you know, when we have our coffees, you will turn to me and you'll say, are you okay today? And we do have this thing here in Australia called, I think it's worldwide, isn't it? The Are You Okay Day, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan, because if somebody turns around and says, actually, I'm not okay, it's like, well, shit, that wasn't the answer I was after.
What do I do?
Yeah. But it's good that you and I were chatting about this, and I'm the sort of person that I'm the brush-off person. I go, of course I'm fine. That's a manly thing to do.
Very stoic. You're a very stoic guy. You're a very confident man. And I think to let people in on that creates a sense of vulnerability.
Yeah.
To feel is to be vulnerable. And I think as men, you know, we're taught to be stoic. We're taught to build a bridge. We're taught to... stand up to those feelings. We don't have to talk about it. That's how we're brought up from a very, very young age.
Yeah.
And those behaviours are very much amplified and reinforced. You know, stop your crying. Don't be a crybaby. What's wrong with you?
Wake up to yourself.
Wake up to yourself.
Actually, can I just tell you, I had a really good mate. He's not my mate anymore, but I had a really good mate of mine, and this was probably about 2 years ago, that I sat with him in his lounge room with a couple of other mates, and we were on the whiskey. I get that, but there is that, you know, in vino veritas, you know, in wine we tell the truth.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So when the alcohol kicks in, we start telling the truth. And for some reason, he came up to me and he put his whole face in my face, and I was just telling him about the stuff that was going on, you know. And then he looked at me and he said, "Wake up to yourself." Is that a good strategy?
Well, I would say no.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you know, counselling is about giving that person an inherent strength. Every person has an inherent strength to deal with their problems. And as a counsellor, you never advise. Because why would I want to advise your life? You know what's going on in your life. As a talk therapy, you can only really tell me what you want to tell me. I don't know the full story. You know the full story. So if someone's giving you advice, you know, giving advice is probably the biggest roadblock. We reach out for friends and we say, "Oh, what do you think I should do? What do we think I should do?"
Yeah.
The best thing is to ask, "What do you think you should do? What do you think you should do?" And even in Are You Okay, if someone says, "I'm actually not," you don't have to solve that. All you have to do is ask a deeper question and say, "Tell me more about that."
Yeah. What's
going on? And just listen. And you reflectively say, you give back, you know, what is it that you heard? So what you're saying is that you're really doing it tough. Yeah, I am. Okay. What are some of the strategies you think you can come up with? Whatever that might be. But giving advice is a huge roadblock. And what do you feel when someone gives you advice? What do you think? What do you think you feel? Do you feel empowered?
No.
Do you feel as if, I've got this? Do you reach forward and go, that's the best advice someone's ever gave me?
So
you don't.
why are there so many of these life coaches around, and why are there so many of these people who, who are advice givers? You see them all over the place. Sign up for this $5,000 program and we'll go through a coaching mechanism. And I know coaching in a way is very different and mentoring is very different to advice giving, but you hear a lot of the times that they're just giving this false hope, like it'll be fine, everything will be okay, don't worry, things will turn around, it'll all be good. Hey, you're lucky, you still got your health, haven't you? And I think all those sort of, what are they, just those mini motivations.
Well, we try and think our way out of a problem.
Yeah.
And they're great strategies short term, no doubt about it. And we can think more positively for today. We can give gratitude. Right. But if it worked, those thoughts wouldn't keep coming back, right?
Yeah.
So they're really just a short term pick me up.
Yeah.
Long term, we've got to come up with a better strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to show you this one also that you put up. It was it's obviously we say a lot of this to ourselves, or is this the you read it out.
Yeah. So
why you put this one up here.
Again, I'm bad. I'm unlovable. I'm worthless. I'm dirty. I'm damaged. I'm nothing. I'm broken. Borderline, hopeless, depressive, alcoholic. These are some of the words that may come into our head on a daily basis. Where do they come from? Who knows? Is it more about being someone I need to be? Is it more about what I'm told? Is it expectation? Is it perfectionism? Is it something around the lines of being validated? But these are the typical things that people will wake up a day and that's what they face. These are the words inside their heads. But if we know that they are just simply words and images, if we know that we only give them the power that we give them, there are ways that we can now start to look at those thoughts those unhelpful thoughts and practices and look at them for what they just truly are. And they're really just streams of words and images. And there are lots of ways that we can, what I call, unhook from them so that they don't, they don't throw us around like a puppet. They're not to be obeyed. Those thoughts don't have to be obeyed. And we can drop the struggle with them at any time we decide to.
I've known you for way over 30 years. In one way, like I said, good friends who stick by you. You don't have to call them on a daily basis. But the thing that I probably want to ask you is that you haven't changed one bit. And you hear that a lot. People will say, oh, you're looking healthy. You're filling those cheeks up, but food must be good.
Yeah.
You haven't changed a bit. And I think that's down to your exercise regime. I bet you got a gym in your house.
I do, but it's not a gym. It's not exercise. I've got a bench. I've got a bench and some dumbbells and things, okay. But it's not. It's not what I used to have.
Just in the garage, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're hell bent on health and fitness in a way. You're not the person who says I need to diet. So, but you do look at a healthy lifestyle, which includes exercise as well.
Yes.
And why is that really important to you, though?
Oh wow, that's a great question, Gerald. Look, I lost my parents really early. Mum died at 51 years of age. I was 16 years of age, and that traumatised me for pretty much the next 30 to 40 years. And it was part of that bit of a breakdown that I had a couple of years ago, coming to terms with that. I was entering into year 12 and Mum had already died. So to do that was a very difficult thing. My father died, he was 68 years of age and I was 35. So I've lost my parents quite early. And I guess this was a strategy to say, okay, well, what are the things that are in my control that I can make a decision about every day that will increase my longevity? Because let's face it, I do want to be here for as long as I can. I don't want to die suffering. I don't want 10 years of disability. I often say to people, the way I would like to die is that I'll be 90 years of age, I'm going for a swim at the local pool, I stand up at the blocks, I dive in, I have a massive coronary heart attack, and I drift to the end and then touch the wall and then just drift down and just go.
Right.
So I don't
Peacefully.
it's like a minute. That's it. It's taken me a minute to die, not 10 years to die with disability and suffering. So that's perfectly how that I'd like that to happen. So my parents indirectly gave me this wonderful notion of be healthy for as long as you can be, and work on it every day. And it doesn't have to be a chore. I just don't find looking after myself a chore. It's an investment in my future. It's an investment in bringing what I can to the world every single day, the best that I can be. And like I said, this is not, these aren't grueling 2-hour workouts. It's 20 minutes 4 times a day. I mean, can I find time for that?
So
Absolutely.
20 minutes
it's
4 times a day.
Sorry, 4 times a week. Sorry about that.
That
was a bit excessive.
I'm out now.
I'm out.
Yeah.
It's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And again, as we get older, this notion that we've got to spend so much time in a gym, and it's not. It doesn't have to be that way. But
it's moving the body, isn't it?
It's strength, mate. Strength is huge. I mean, I read the other day that over the age of 65, your biggest form of death, cause of death, can be directly traced back to a lack of muscle mass. Now think about that for a minute. Over the age of 65, we're going to die because of complications that we are not strong enough to stop ourselves from falling if we trip. We don't have stability in our core muscles, or we can't sort of bend down, or we can't push something, a load above our heads, or whatever it might be. So once you break a hip at 80 years of age, you're not coming back from that.
Yeah.
And once you can't sit on a toilet and get yourself up off a toilet, you're going into a nursing home.
Right. You mean without
assistance?
Without assistance.
Yeah. If you can't do that by yourself.
If you can't squat. So if you can't go from a sitting position to up without using your hands, are you saying?
Or just without someone trying to help you. If you can't do it, you can't live independently. So if you can get into a notion that if I can be strong, if I have good flexibility and good balance, way into my 80s, 85, 90s, you're living independently.
I heard you, sorry to jump in, but I heard you say something about, what is it, the octogenarian Olympics?
There's a great guy in America. His name's Peter Attia. He's a longevity doctor, and he has this notion of the octogenarian Olympics. In other words, if you're going to reach 100 years of age, what are the things that you need to be doing? What are the basic movements that will get you into longevity and long age? So things like bending down and picking up a grandchild and picking them up and putting them above your head and mucking around with them. Can you actually do that? Can you get out of a pool without using the ladder? Can you twist and turn? Say you're preparing food, at a bench. Are you able to twist and turn and have that flexibility of movement through your core muscles and so on without pulling something or without breaking something, whatever it might be? And then we sort of think of those basic movements, squatting and hinging at the hip, pressing, with shoulder muscles and so on. Can we do that as we move into, older age? And they're just basic movements that we need to we need to have a certain sense of competency about as we go into old age.
There's something about that, when you fall over, can you get up?
Can you get up?
Yeah, can you just get up? That's that core strength in your arms and your chest and your shoulders to be able to get up and then roll over and then be able to stand up.
Why do they have distress signals in nursing homes? And some people wear those, right?
Yes.
Because they're lying on the floor. How many news reports you have of people being in that position for 5 days before someone's found them? Yeah. So they have that ability to get back off the floor. Using the musculature is just so vital as we age.
Yeah.
So
I love all that, because I think it's important. It's not only, because you said you're 57, I'm 61 this year. You start to get at that age that you start making noises, that you don't hear. Like you bend over to pick up a sock. You then stretch and
getting out of the car.
I just pulled a rib. You go, what the hell?
Why do you think SUVs are so popular in that in the older market?
Because they're higher, aren't they?
They're higher, and you don't have to get out. You don't have to get out of them from a low position. So
not too many 80-year-olds in a convertible, is there?
It's just. When you start looking around you at that older population and you're looking at, what are the ways that their movement is being compromised? And I always love it when, I was catching a train the other day and they're doing works at Central Station and the escalators were out.
We're out. Oh.
And people have no other way other than catching the lift or going upstairs. And there was a line up to the lift, going into the lift and out onto the street, and people could not go to the stairs. It's just like, that blows my mind. Yeah. It blows my mind.
There was a great experiment done, I think it was in Norway or in Sweden, and what they did is that they had these engineers come in the railway track, like in the lead up to the train station, is that they had the escalator on one side, but they just had the stairs, but they fitted them out with piano keys. And so when you went onto each step, it would give you a tune. It would go ding, and you get to the next step on the side, it would go dong. And people were then playing tunes on their way out, and that would then give them a bit of a motivation to say, I'm going to play a tune as I'm going up the stairs, as well as them being sprightly. And then they showed after 5 days, there'd be only about 2 or 3 people on the escalator and the 150 to 200 people. So I think it's all about the motivation, isn't it? But I've got something for you. Can you motivate me? Is that a possibility? Because if I can't motivate me, what chance have you got in motivating me?
I can influence you. But I can't control you. The answer is no. No. I mean, I can tell you inspiring stories. Yeah. I can tell you my journey. I can give you the carrot at the end, or I can beat you into doing something as well. But at the end of the day, you is you.
Yeah.
And you've got to find that inner voice, that connects with your values of health. If we're talking about motivating you, to lead a healthier lifestyle, that voice has got to come from you. Absolutely.
I had this great personal trainer. It was at the time that Spook and I did Peru, and then I used him again when I did India. And when I did Peru, I just felt like I just needed a bit of motivation and exercise. And I knew Paris for a long time. I've known him for 30 years. And I said to Paris, I want to do this. And he said, this is easy. He said, are you interested or committed? And I went, oh, that's a great question. Am I interested or committed? I said, I'm committed. He said, great. He says, because if you're interested in something, you'll give it up. It's like, oh, I've got an interest in that. But if you're committed to it, here's what I want you to do. You pay me the $5,000 today, and this is a 3-month program. If you turn up 5 days a week, good for you. If you don't turn up, I'm keeping the money. You know, I turned up 5 days a week. I didn't want to lose my $5,000.
Because you're a tight ass.
Well, because I'm a tight ass. I didn't want to lose the $5,000. But that was my
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
If that connects with you, because your value is, I want value for money while I'm getting fit. Great.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very smart question.
Yeah, I think he missed out. I want to put this up. You put this on your LinkedIn this morning, and talk to me about the chart and the graph here. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is all coming out of the census at the moment. So the census in Australia is done every 5 years. So now we're getting reports of the results of the census. So this is the census of 2017 and 18. So now we're starting to see the results. And it's the very first time in our census that specific questions were asked about mental health. We knew something about suicide. We knew that. We can go through some of those stats in a minute. But it's interesting to start seeing some of these statistics now that are coming out. And this one here, we can confidently say that young people are suffering in Australia. They really are. So here between the ages of 16 and 34, we've got 20% of younger Australians are more likely to experience very high levels of psychological distress. It's been around a 2% increase across the board with anxiety, depression, and these and of mental illness from 5 years earlier. So between 2014-15 to now, about a 2% increase across the board. And I think we've got some other statistics here, that we can go through. So it'd be interesting to see what it is now in real time. We don't have that data, but we can say that as we sort of march on towards the 21st century, we're becoming more prevalent with our mental health, unfortunately.
What I do want to ask, which is I think going to be important for us people, if you're still here and you're listening, I'm not looking at the chats at the moment because I just want to focus on David, having a conversation with David. I know most of you are probably gone now, but if you do have some questions that you want to ask David about anything that we're talking about, just throw it in the chat. I will have a look at it when we're talking about some other things, and we'll see if we can answer some of those things. I do want to get into some of the slides that we have here, so I might just actually, if I can hand this over to you. Yep. So, you're the producer. Is that a noise that you just made?
I shouldn't have.
Yeah, you shouldn't have made. So you remember the keyframes? I think they're.
I've got it here, mate. Thank you so much for that coaching earlier on.
The good coaching, isn't it? It's actually, this is a lot easier. I don't have a big.
You don't have
thing
so much in front of you. So this one here, again, coming out of the census that this was only released last week. So you'll see that 4.8 million Australians, about an increase of 2%. So 1 in 5 are suffering from mental illness. So nearly 5 million Australians, unfortunately, have a mental illness. So again,
this isn't just 2%. And this isn't just related to men. This is
across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah, we'll split this up in male and females in a second. Okay. The next one here. So this is anxiety, and it continues to be the number one mental illness that's suffered by Australians. So we have 1 in 8.
Wow.
That's 3.2 million Australians. Again, another increase in 2%. And then again with depression, it gets more to sort of 10%.
Wow.
So 2.4 million Australians are suffering from depression.
Can you just go back one slide there? Because I think when I have a look at that depression, 2.4 millions, do you think that number has increased, say, over the last 2 years through all the COVID mandates, the lockdowns,
there's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. We don't have that data, especially coming from the census, but I think anecdotally we would be picking up, the sentiment in society is that this has caused a lot of depression and anxiety. I mean, look at yourself in terms of, the experience that you've had in lockdown. All of us have had in lockdown, and the way that's made us feel. I mean, you mentioned, that you felt rejected, you felt that you weren't doing your bit, failure.
Yeah.
And that's a normal reaction to something where we're locked down, where we're told to isolate. We can't go anywhere. We take away those sort of certain freedoms that we enjoy every day. So that's a natural reaction, obviously, to that legislation that we're all had to live by. Let's keep going with, say, mental illness, women versus men. And look, women do suffer more, particularly in that younger age group of 15 to 24.
Okay.
So 1 in 3 women versus 1 in 5 men will have a mental illness. Now, whether that's more women that's actually reporting that, but that's the statistic in that. Now, if we just look at anxiety in that 15 to 24 bracket, you can see that the men's rates of anxiety in that age bracket has doubled compared to women. So what's going on with our young men in this country? What is it about that statistic which is just so troubling that it's doubling? And I'd hate to think that it's doubling every 5 years, because if it is, where young men are in a real problem, in this country. If we look at depression, again, on the whole, women do suffer more depression than men, but they are increasing. The results don't give us exactly what the rate of increase is, but 12 versus 9%, they're on the rise. Suicide is very troubling. If we look at men versus women, men are 3 times, they're dying at 3 times the rate.
Yep.
So over 2,384 men are dying at the hands of suicide, compared to 755. So that's huge.
Massive, isn't it?
It's massive. And then we look at, what's the average age of suicide? We always think it's young people or, depressive people in their younger years, but it's not. The average age is 43.5. Wow. That's middle-aged men and women that are taking their lives in Australia.
Mate, can I just throw up this little comment here? Altair the Fourth says, young people have been given participation awards and told that they're great. They become adults to join the workforce to find out that they are nobodies and must work for awards and bonuses. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, that's a really interesting comment. Thank you so much for that,
Altair.
I think there was a time back in that sort of 80s and 90s where we it was that kind of, you're a special snowflake and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And I think the research says now that was not a good message.
Not a good one.
That was not a message of resilience. That wasn't a message of, if you get down, get yourself up again and move on, brush yourself off and sort of keep going. It was more about, they've hurt my feelings.
Yep.
I feel threatened, and we weren't building that sense of resilience. And I think, again, that was something that we had really good intentions, but it hasn't worked out for us at all.
Not at all, has it?
No.
I mean, it's kind of like I used to hear that a lot. Just get up and brush yourself off and get on with it. And that was my good buddy at the time who had said to me, just wake up to yourself. And I think that's what he was trying to shake or instill in me, is that maybe that's the way that he'd been.
Well, yeah, but I think our parents bought it as well. Tell your kid that they're special every single day. If they don't want to go to school, don't send them to school. If they don't want to go to band practice, then they don't have to. So I think that the message was well intended, but I just don't think we've come through the other side with a message of resilience.
So this one here, I might bring that a bit higher. I had someone trying to push. We need to soften society and not toughen the people. I disagree. So somebody tried to say, we need to just soften the society. We need to become more feminine. I think it was.
Right.
It was. We need to become more estrogen based rather than being manly, and being that person that is there to protect.
Yeah, I think it's more about. I think it's more about this sense of vulnerability. I think men need to develop a sense of vulnerability, because to feel is to be vulnerable, and as men we're taught not to feel. Women are great at this. They get together and they talk. They talk about their feelings. They talk about work, and they talk about their social life. But it's all based on feelings. I put a post up the other week on LinkedIn and said, when you come together as mates, do you talk about your feelings?
Yeah.
Do you talk about the Broncos? Do you talk about your boss? Or do you talk about the stock market?
I bet you it's the Broncos.
It was number one,
Really?
hands down. We're talking about sport.
Football.
We're talking about sport. Yeah.
But is that a bad thing? Like, oops, hang on. Is that a bad thing that we do? That we talk actually, that we don't want to share, the vulnerable part of us? Is that really bad? If we want to talk about the Broncos, isn't that maybe a message that says, hey, I'm off limits. I don't want to be talking about any of this.
Yes and no.
Like as mates.
Yes and no. But I think in a genuine way, I don't think men have the ability, or we've lost the art of talking about thoughts and feelings that get us down, that talks about sharing and being vulnerable with those feelings. I think it's changing. We have this wonderful, again, I don't know if it's worldwide, but at least in Australia we have that, hashtag it's not weak to speak.
It's not weak to speak.
Which I think is a wonderful message. And we're seeing those stickers on the back of tradies' cars and utes and live it and, wonderful messages. And I think that's changing. I really do think it is. But the first step in dealing with those unhelpful thoughts and feelings, the first step is to start talking about them and to make it known, because we know that if we bottle it up, that's not a good place.
Yeah. I've got this, somebody had just put something up. Let me just see if this is...
Can I get rid of this now?
Yeah, you can. Give that
I'll
back
put
to
that
me.
down there.
I'll give it to me. Yeah, because I need... It's like my Linus Blanket. Is that who he was, Linus?
Linus.
With his little blanket?
Yeah, little peanuts.
Chef says this. Chef says, honestly, I think the only thing that's going to snap this world out of the stupidity that is going through is a major catastrophe, probably a war, where men become men again through hardship and death.
I think men are men.
Yeah.
I think men are men. I don't think we need to become harder men. And in fact, I think we need to become softer men. I think we need to start connecting. We need to start reaching out to other men or just other people and have this sense of vulnerability. To not be afraid of feeling what we feel and to say that way.
Yeah.
Because we know that if we hold resentment and we hold that pain within us, then we can't heal. We simply can't. So the first step is having that awareness and have that vulnerability to speak.
It's interesting that you say that men are men, but then what are your feelings when you see, men wearing dresses or men who are, dressing up, not so much, in drag, but there are men out there who are identifying as a woman for the simple fact that they, they want to compete in sports. I know you say men are men. What is a man? Oh, gosh. Is that just a normal part of society that we've always had those blokes that would identify in secret, as wearing women's outfits?
Well, I think we've come a long way. I mean, if we think about, what it was meant to be gay in Australia, and now we have the Pride marches, and we have the Mardi Gras and those sorts of things. I mean, there is an increased tolerance to people's individuality. There's an increased tolerance to our vulnerability, and I think it's now becoming safe for particularly men to express themselves the way they want to express themselves.
Yeah.
Now, as another male, I have empathy, for that situation. If that's the way you feel deep down, if you feel as if you express more as a woman than a man, and you now want to express that in public, or you now, again, you're showing that vulnerability, then good on you.
Yeah.
And, if you are that person and you are being you, you can't control how other people react to that.
But do you think it needs to be? Do you think it needs to be mainstream? Because I showed this little clip yesterday. It wasn't a clip, I saw a photo. So Richard Wilkinson, who's the entertainer report for Channel 9, he went to the Logies, and his son went to the Logies. And of course, rather than showing all the beautiful women that are dressing up for the red carpet, we show his son who's dressed up as a dress. Do you think we need to have that in mainstream to be foisted upon us? Why don't we show just ordinary tradie bloke? Why don't we do that? What is going on nowadays that we have to know about the minorities? We have to know that, we've got this minority in here, we've got this Indigenous person there, we've now got this trans person here, part of the LGBT. You say men are men, and then you get a man like that who dresses up as a woman to be so brave, and then is put on mainstream media. Look, I don't care. Either way, they're not part of my life. They're not coming to my barbecue. They're not coming to my Christmas party.
Yeah.
But I'm probably asking, because my father asked these questions, why do we need to see that sort of thing? And I'm not against it. It's just that there's so much of it.
Look, I think the first question is to ask yourself. I mean, you are the only person that you can control. If you see an image of that on the television and you say, okay, there's an image of a young man who's now dressed as a woman, the first place I go to is say, why is that triggering to me?
Yeah, true.
Why is that triggering me? What are the things that I am bringing to the table that's affecting me in that way?
Because it triggers me because I think we're trying to normalise that this is normal. Well, we know it's a minority. And I think it's not so much as the trigger. I think about the children. So it's not about me. I can handle all that. I'm at that age now, same as you. We just go, whatever. But if you have a look at the children, it's affecting children. So we said, just if I can quote what you had said, you said just not that long ago, we're giving everyone this participation medal, and we got this wrong. So we actually decreased the way of getting people to enjoy that working hard and getting a reward and a recognition, you had to work for it. So we know we got that wrong. Do you think we're going to look at this in 20 years' time and go, maybe we got that wrong?
Look, I think everybody has the right to express their innermost, deepest feeling. Now, whether that manifests in I'm going to wear a dress or I'm going to look less feminine, whatever it might be, I think the first place to start is to have a tolerance, and again, to go back to yourself and say, what am I bringing to the table that I find that so distressing? What's the egos that I'm bringing? Is it an ego of perfection? Is it an ego of control? Is it the fact that I actually can't control that person wearing a dress, therefore that triggers me? Do I have an ego of say validation? In other words, I've got to look at that image and be like a sheep and say, I'm appalled by that because my mates do. My mates do as well. I don't know. But again, I think the first step is to look at that, look at yourself, and notice when you are having those uncomfortable thoughts in reaction to what you're seeing, and say, what is it about that which I find so troubling? And how then can I become more tolerant? Or how can I change that situation so that thought is not hooking me?
Okay.
Because you're looking at that going, that's distressing, and I'm getting hooked by that distress, therefore I'm going to say something or do something which basically says that I don't agree with that.
David, we're running out of time, but I do have another comment here. It says, RSR says, agree, G-Man, my 20-year-old thought is that kids today aren't bullied enough these days. I think he means they aren't challenged these days.
I mean, no one needs to be bullied.
No.
That's probably not the intention of the word, but no one needs to be bullied.
Yeah.
I think this is really about giving people the tools and strategies to, to be more resilient. Now, what does that mean? Okay, well, when we have thoughts, whether they're unpleasant, whether they're unhelpful, whatever it might be, we can all learn to start to, how do we process these thoughts? What are the ways that we don't struggle with them? What are the ways that we don't have to escape, get rid of, move away from, so that they don't influence us and have an impact on our lives? And there are many ways that we can do that. I mean, we think about anxiety. Most people who are suffering from anxiety are trying to get away from anxiety 24/7. If they have this unpleasant thought, if they have these unpleasant sensations about anxiety, most of the time their life is about trying to get away from it.
Yeah.
And it's just such an enormous waste of time and effort. And what if there was a different way? What if there was a different way of trying to accept those things for what they are, trying to make room for these unhelpful thoughts and feelings, so that if we get up in the morning and we've got butterflies in our stomach, we're sweaty, and we think, oh my God, I can't go to work today because I'm feeling this way. What's a way that we can notice those feelings? We can, and then again, just treat them for what they are, and reduce them to simply just words.
Yeah, they are.
And a stream of words and thoughts.
Yeah.
We can name them. We can thank them even. For turning up today. So there's lots of ways that we can start distancing ourselves from these thoughts. We can step back from them, because our mind is sometimes, when it's in a world of its own, but it can just throw us around, get us to do things that we don't want to do. That we obey these thoughts and feelings when really we have a choice.
Do we? Okay. All right. In law enforcement, have a problem with how this is handled. When an officer mentions any depression or thoughts, they are suspended, and some were released, even though it was due to the situation at work.
Yeah, that's a tough situation.
It's a tough situation.
That's a really tough, and I actually think that's really wrong.
Yeah, totally agree.
I mean, if an officer is coming and they've had a really bad day, they need to debrief, or they have a depressive, that person needs to be supported. And it's not a weakness at all. In fact, someone saying that they're depressed or they have anxious thoughts and disclosing that is actually a form of strength.
This is a great comment up here. Pete says, tolerance begats reaction. A reaction doesn't create tolerance.
I'm not sure I know how to respond to that. Reaction doesn't create tolerance.
Yeah. So it means, I think, resilience, hardening up. So I get this reaction that I've all of a sudden now, I've reacted to this person here. He's wearing a dress. And I've reacted to it in such a way that now what I'm going to do is I'm reacting, and I'm now more tolerant to that. I'm now used to that. And I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if that's what the quote means. These people are given great insight.
It is good.
For the first time in their life, they're giving great insight here. And
I think maybe the word's different here, but reaction tends to be a little bit more automatic than responding. And again, we have a choice to respond to that. We can respond to it in an offhand way, which is a reaction, or we can notice how we're feeling at that time in response, to that thing that we're seeing. And if we tend to respond mindfully, and that is, we're noticing those thoughts, we're noticing those feelings in our body, we have a better chance of actually dealing with those rather than just an automatic reaction. Yeah, so there's a big difference between responding mindfully and just reacting.
Yeah, I think that's where the word responsibility comes in.
Absolutely.
You've got an ability to be able to respond. And I think that's what we do a lot. You're driving past a guy and he gives you the bird, and our natural response or our natural reaction is to give them the bird back. And I think we try to fight that. And I wonder who's going to win, who gives the biggest bird
Absolutely.
out. That happens there. This is a great comment here. Free thought domain says, not everything you think is true.
Yeah, I love
totally
that.
Agree with that?
Completely. Yeah, that absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing around the whole thing around our thoughts and our feelings, what we think is what we feel and what we feel is what we believe. And then there's become that cycle of destruction is, I don't think I'm going to get that job. Well, how do you feel about it? I'm feeling nervous. So you go in to go for that job and you're feeling like you're not going to get it and you're thinking like you're not going to get it. So, of course, how'd you go, mate? I didn't get it.
Absolutely. I mean, how many times there's a thought come into our head? We might say, I'm an imposter. Well, how does that affect us? Well, we won't take the promotion if we think we're an imposter. If we think that we're, that we're unlovable, are we really going to go out and find another part, or a different partner, or a better partner?
Okay.
If we feel that we're fat or whatever, are we really going to start an exercise program? And there's so many ways that our thoughts and feelings will then dictate the way we behave.
You have a challenge.
What's the challenge?
I don't agree with everything David is saying here. Has he got children or grandchildren that he would be happy to be taught extreme tolerance in school at an early age? So I think the first answer, there's a couple of questions there. Do you have children or grandchildren?
Yes, I've got a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Both boys?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. 17-year-old is...
He's driving.
He's driving? Gosh, there's a bit of tolerance there.
I know.
And the 13-year-old? Now, it's the 17-year-old was it the 17-year-old that you took on a trip from...
No, that was a 13-year-old.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Up to the tip of Australia?
No, it was out west, actually.
Oh,
yeah, out west.
What was the bike ride?
Yeah, that was my brother. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, we rode to the tip,
maybe I should
tip of
listen
Queensland.
more.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay. So what do you think? I'll leave you with
What's
that
extreme tolerance mean? I don't really understand.
Happy to be taught extreme
tolerance in school. I want my kids to be taught resilient skills.
Yeah.
We don't have to tolerate bad feelings.
Yeah.
A tolerance, if you punch me in the arm 4 times, that's tolerance.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's different to having an unpleasant thought and a feeling and allowing it to be in our body, to make room for it, to give it some space, not to fight it, not to push it away, but in the same time, right? At the same time, I'm going to act responsibly. I'm going to act towards the person I want to be. I want to act towards a life that I want.
Yeah.
So we don't have to tolerate anything,
Yeah.
right? But we can sit with those unpleasant thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
We can make room for them in our body. In the same time of having those unpleasant thoughts, we can move towards effective action.
Do you believe in the quote, "Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never harm"?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
we have
why
a choice.
why are we so
We always have a
offended?
choice.
Why are we so offended by names and name calling? Why there's so much in cancel culture? Why do we have comedians that have been dropped off the face of the earth because they said something
That's offended somebody.
that's offended someone else? So what, again, is that because of that tolerance that we weren't taught in younger years?
Absolutely.
Because everyone gets this medal.
Absolutely. We aren't taught these skills of resilience.
Yeah.
We aren't taught these skills of responding mindfully to issues that are affecting us every day. We react, we're offended easy.
Yeah.
And again, that's all about that choice about whether we're going to react or respond.
Guess what time it is, David?
I have no idea.
We've gone over time.
Really?
We have. I'm playing the shutdown music. I think the shutdown music is on. The shutdown music is on. I want to thank everyone here for joining us on here. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but this ain't for you. This is actually for me, and it's for Rudy. And if you've stayed on here for that little while that you have, and you want to ask David some questions, I'm sure that you would answer. Do you want to come back? If you want David to come back, just give me a quick thumbs up, and we might play some of that's in there. So if you want David to come back and answer some of your pertinent questions, thumbs up. If you don't want David to come down, I just don't watch. It's as simple as that. So Free Thought Domain says, thanks, David. Great combo. It's the way it is sometimes. You've got lots of thumbs up coming up here. Wiley says so. Bergspan says, I don't pay overtime. Look, great conversation. Thank you, David. There we go.
Look at that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Altair.
There we go. Yeah, you can read
Thanks,
all
Peter.
this out. Yeah.
Thanks, Wiley. Wiley Coyote.
Wiley.
He must be from Arizona, is he?
Wiley E. Coyote.
Oh, Wiley Coyote.
Suzanne Smith says, yes,
Thanks, Rod.
David, please come back. But we could maybe do this like a once a month sort of thing, where we just do David's Corner. Better Man
Happy
Counselling.
to contribute where I can, mate.
All right, because once the Waffles and Whisky sign comes up, we're finishing off this stream. David can crutch a sheep.
Not sure about that. What is
Can
that?
you? I don't know if you've ever done that. We're lucky to get 60 minutes. Yeah, you are today. That's it. Cheers, Sir Rudy. Cheers, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. It's a bit of a different show, but like I say, it's important that you turn up and you just have a listen to what we have to say. Chef says 3 thumbs up. All right, it's all coming to an end. RSR, great conversation. Thanks, David. Thanks, G-Man. Thumbs up with a pair of glasses, mate. All hail the legend, Sir Rudy. We will do that later. Folks, thanks very much for coming. And we'll leave the last one to Holly that says, cheers to the chat. Thanks, Holly. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.